me personally was Senator Russ Goodman and his efforts in Senate Bill 465 dealing with fentanyl. And the reason why it became such a meaningful piece of legislation, number one, it was something that we needed to address as a state because of the epidemic that's going on with fentanyl. But number two, because of the courage and the emotion that a family from right here in Valdosta brought to the equation, Mr. and Mrs. Gus and Beth Walters, who are here today with their 4 children. They unfortunately and tragically lost a young man, their son. I call it a child because they'll always be children to us, no matter how old they are, but lost a young man to a fentanyl, a pill laced with fentanyl. And you know, they were absolutely, their whole world was knocked upside down. And very shortly after dealing with the emotions of losing a child, they decided they wanted to do something about it. And these are 2 people, good people, who have never been involved in politics or the political process or anything. They just knew who their elected official was. And they reached out to Senator Goodman, and they really did a wonderful job of being, number one, composed the entire time, but number 2, being very effective in how they went about trying to get this important piece of legislation done. Russ Goodman deserves all the credit for that and the hard work that he did on that, but my condolences, but my appreciation go out to the Walters family for their hard work in this effort. And that's really what I'm here to help celebrate is that effort. Because if those of you all that know Russ Goodman, he's an emotional guy. He's a passionate guy. He likes blueberries and he likes Elvis Presley, but he likes people, you know, and he likes to do, and he likes to work for the people of his community. And he was very passionate about this effort, and I'm so proud that the governor will be signing that piece of legislation today. And I want to appreciate everybody being here and supporting that. And I want to thank all our House members, as well as our Senate members, for all the great work that you did this past session. And I told the governor, he and I just came from a little groundbreaking event for our glass there, a great company that's just open and getting started here in Valdosta, Georgia. And I introduced him at that event, and I asked him beforehand, I was like, you want me to lay it on thick or you just want me to sugarcoat it, you know? And he said, just lay it on thick. So I laid it on pretty thick. I laid it on pretty thick back there. So, but Governor Kemp's a great friend, does a great job for the state of Georgia, and is passionate about the entire state, but he's definitely passionate about rural Georgia and passionate about economic development and growth, and doing a wonderful, wonderful job. He and the First Lady travel all over the state and do a great job representing us and being great ambassadors for the state of Georgia. And so if y'all will please allow me to give a very warm and welcome to the governor of the state of Georgia, Brian Kemp.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Governor Jones. Thank you all so much. It is indeed a great day to be in the great state of Georgia and be in South Georgia. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Jones, for those kind words. Speaker, appreciate your kind words. And Commissioner Harper, it's great to be with you all today. I was just thinking, as Marty and I have traveled around doing a lot of bill signings, been all over the state, been with a lot of our hardworking members of the General Assembly, and just thinking about the team that we have. There's such a, I mean, it's easy to brag on the team that we got that are working together. And I think it's important for us to get out of Atlanta and sign pieces of legislation and talk about things that we did in the budget that's affecting all parts of our state, so that people know in this local community how hard your representatives and your senators are working up underneath the Gold Dome. You know, you don't always get the best news or favorable news from the Atlanta media, but the fact is we have done a lot of good things that are helping and strengthen rural Georgia and helping strengthen South Georgia and really all parts of our state. And we have a great team, and you think about the people leading the state, with Marty and I being from Athens and Northeast Georgia, the Speaker being from Southeast Georgia. He talked about the Lieutenant Governor being in a growing part of our state in Middle Georgia, and Tyler Harper's roots to South Georgia. And it's the same with the rest of our constitutional officers, and certainly the members of the General Assembly bring that perspective to Atlanta, bring a local perspective, but with a vision for our whole state. So I'm just honored to be here with so many great leaders today, constitutional officers, our members of the Public Service Commission, and so many other leaders in education, organizations, and folks that are making our classrooms stronger and safer every day. But most importantly, students and families and educators that are here with us today, and members of the agriculture community. And we are no doubt honored to have the Walters family with us today. I know it is a bittersweet day for them, but this is it's an important bill that we'll be signing, and we're just honored to have you guys with us. I mentioned the mayor and the chairman and a lot of the other elected officials that are here with us at the Hourglass event earlier, so we appreciate you all coming over here with us. I want to thank Sheriff Paulk and his team for doing such a great job, but also being a great friend to us and all of us, and his input on legislation as well, not only this session, but over the years. You know, the Speaker and Lieutenant Governor and the Commissioner both talked about the success that we've seen over the last several years, setting economic development records for 3 straight years, and as the Speaker mentioned, the #1 state for business 10 years in a row. The great thing is the vast majority of the jobs and the vast majority of the investment that has been created by these great private sector companies that we've been able to work for have been located outside the metro Atlanta counties, creating opportunities for Georgians to succeed no matter their zip code or what neighborhood they're in. And a good example of that, and I mentioned this statistic earlier, just in the last 5 years here in Valdosta, in this part of the state, we've been involved, just the projects the state's been involved with has been 25 different projects, creating over 1,800 new jobs and over $1.1 billion of investment. And we have celebrated another one of those today, as Lieutenant Governor mentioned, out at Hourglass. Just an incredible expansion. To be able to go to that facility back before the pandemic, do the first groundbreaking, go back, see the plant in operation, and then do another groundbreaking today in just 5 years really shows what we've been doing in the state and what this team has been doing, because the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker, the Commissioner of Agriculture, the members of the General Assembly, they are all part of this economic development team, supporting funding for our efforts, but also you all at the local level, our economic development authorities, the local governments that are supporting these projects as well, and us working together to make that happen. And then certainly our educators that are training the workforce to be in these great facilities, not only today, but in the next 5 years for all these commitments that we have. So we're going to continue to make sure that we're working hard to strengthen our rural communities, and that you all will be a big part of our state. But our biggest part of our state and our biggest economic driver, as the Commissioner mentioned, is agriculture. By far our #1 industry. A lot of people are always shocked in Atlanta when they hear the fact that agriculture is indeed by far the #1 industry in the state. And we will continue to celebrate incredible successes of growing industries that we have in aerospace and advanced manufacturing, logistics, and more. But agriculture is by far still the largest contributor to our state's economic input. The latest report from the UGA College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences found food and fiber production contributed $83.6 billion to our economy, supporting over 320,000 jobs across the state. But what makes those numbers as impressive as they fail to convey is the fact that entire counties across Georgia depend on this industry for their livelihoods. And that's why we need to make sure that our farming families can thrive. Without their work to put food on our tables and clothes on our backs, we could not enjoy the successes that we do. Few professions face as many challenges as our farmers do, which is why we've taken the steps to help lessen that burden. In January, the Department of Natural Resources Environmental Protection Division announced it was beginning to allow limited new modified surface water withdrawal permits in the Swanee and Ocklackney areas, and it will continue to evaluate the suspension to identify further opportunities for modification. And in this year's budget, we increased funding to our Department of Agriculture's Consumer Protection Division and the EPD to help address the backlog of agriculture water withdrawal permits. These are just a few of the steps that we've taken to support our farming families, and I'm looking forward to signing these bills today to further that mission. Now, I want to take just a few minutes and go through what we're signing real quick. I know it will take just a minute, but it's important for you all to understand what we're signing today. First, I'll start with SB 420, which is mentioned earlier by Senator Jason Anavitarte, who's here today, carried in the House by Representative Clay Perkle. Clay's here. I'm grateful to them, our Department of Agriculture, and all our leaders that work to make this a top priority and secure its passage. As the Commissioner mentioned, we cannot allow foreign adversaries to control something as critical to our survival as our food supply. And that's why I'm proud to sign this bill that will prohibit the ownership or acquisition of agriculture or non-residential land within a certain radius of a military location by a resident alien acting as an agent of a government or entity designed as a foreign adversary to the U.S. Department of Commerce. It also includes language relating to the transfer of deeds upon death. Rest assured, Georgia will do everything in our power to prevent bad actors from threatening our national security. Next is Senate Bill 340, sponsored by Senator K. Kirkpatrick and carried in the House by Representative Joe Campbell, who's here. This bill adds diesel exhaust fluid, or DEF, to the Georgia Agricultural Tax Exemption, or GATE program, further helping our farmers fight the negative impacts of Biden inflation. While Washington, D.C. and their politicians up there keep adding more red tape and making it harder for our farmers to succeed, in Georgia, we're going to continue cutting costs and supporting our agriculture industry. Next, I'll sign Senate Bill 494, sponsored by Senator Sam Watson and carried in the House by Representative John Corbett. They're both here today. This bill makes changes to the framework for hemp regulation in Georgia to allow GDA a greater oversight role, ensuring products are safe for our consumers. So many of our leaders have worked hard to make this possible. As Commissioner Harper mentioned, I want to thank him, Representative John Corbett, Representative Clay Perkle, Representative Chaz Cannon, Senator Sam Watson, Randy Robertson, Kay Kirkpatrick, Kim Jackson, and Bill Cowser for their leadership on this issue. Thank you all for your commitment to ensuring our laws keep up with this fast-evolving industry. Next, I'll sign House Bill 827, sponsored by Representative Tyler Paul Smith and carried by Chairman Russ Goodman in the Senate. This bill increases the penalty for livestock theft and awards Title 16 law enforcement authority to the Georgia Department of Agriculture. Tyler spoke about this earlier. It also adds language relating to criminal trespass involving a wild animal. Those who endanger our farmers and their property will face justice in Georgia, and this bill helps make that a reality. Next, I'll sign Senate Bill 436, sponsored by Senator Sam Watson and carried by Representative Chaz Cannon in the House. This legislation further supports our farmers with their everyday expenses by expanding the definition of farm use vehicle. Each of these bills will help our agriculture industry remain strong for years to come. Next, I'll sign a pair of bills sponsored by Representative John LaHood that will help strengthen our rural communities, but also entire state. First, House Bill 455, carried by Senator John Albers in the Senate, which adds important privacy protections for professional programs. Then HB 1335, carried by Senator Ben Watson, which adjusts staffing requirements in personal care homes, assisting living communities, and memory care centers to ensure these essential facilities can operate efficiently. So again, thank you, Representative LaHood, for your leadership. Next, I'll sign House Bill 906, sponsored by Representative Bill Yerter, who's here, and carried by Senator Cardin Summers, which provides an additional Superior Court judge to the Tifton Judicial Circuit. And finally, as mentioned earlier, I'll sign Senate Bill 465, Austin's Law. Senator Goodman, when we get to that bill, will speak further about this legislation at the table once we get there. So I just want to thank you all for being here. let you know that as we continue to grow this state, we will realize that agriculture is going to continue to be the backbone of this economy. And that's why we're grateful for all our farming families and for what they do, and we'll continue to work every day to ensure that they are well equipped to meet the challenges that they face. With this team that I talked about earlier, I have no doubt that that will be the case. And I know we will always have champions for our farmers and also our entire agriculture industry. So with that, thank you for being here, and we'll move to the table and start calling the bills. Thank you all.
If you'd like to be in the photo for Senate Bill 4, Board ownership of ag land, please make your way to the table.
No, I'm probably gonna get down.
Senate Bill 420.